President Trump will travel to Georgia for a rally on Saturday. It will be his first visit there since losing the state to President-elect Joe Biden. The president will be supporting the two Republican candidates in the Peach State's upcoming Senate runoff races. The outcome of these contests is crucial to both Democrats and Republicans. It will determine which party will control the Senate. But as Mr. Trump continues to make baseless claims of voter fraud, calling the election rigged, there is growing concern among Republicans that his rhetoric could impact voter turnout in January. For more, let's bring in Margaret Brennan. She is CBS News senior foreign affairs correspondent and moderator of Face the Nation. Hi there, Margaret. Nice to see you again. So you are going to be speaking with the president's former cybersecurity director, Christopher Krebs, this weekend. Last month, Chris Krebs said that the 2020 election was the most secure in American history. And Mr. Trump fired him a short time later and called Krebs' statement inaccurate. How does Mr. Trump's rhetoric on election integrity ultimately impact the overall democratic process?
Well, it confuses a large number of his supporters and the American public. 74 million people voted for President Trump. The question is how many believe what he is saying now, because what he has said and what his lawyers have alleged is not borne out by fact. It hasn't been backed up by legal arguments that have passed through any court. In fact, Trump-appointed judges have rejected these attempts at claims of fraud. You have since heard Chris Krebs and others, including the Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, say that there were no foreign attempts that were successful at influencing the 2020 election. So this is a PR campaign for the president that could have some implications in just undermining confidence in our electoral process. It also could, as you know, backfire for the Republican Party because of this upcoming January 5th runoff in the state of Georgia. The president has focused so much of his ire on elections officials in that state, on the governor himself in that state, and we know that the president is going there on Saturday to hold a campaign rally. The point is allegedly to help boost those two Republican candidates, but what the president's saying may have the opposite effect if he is undermining confidence in the vote in the first place.
Yeah, we'll be watching and listening closely to see what his message there is. Margaret, is there any indication that we could potentially see any issues at the polls during these Senate runoff races next month?
Well, there's concern in Georgia, as you heard from some of their top elections officials this week, that the rhetoric being used is not just harmful theoretically, but that it physically could be threatening to election workers because of the death threats that have already been received, because of the intimidation, because of the targeting of some of the people who are just doing their jobs as election officials or just workers in helping to maintain the voting machine. So there is a security concern on the ground. And this idea of conspiracy that continues to be propagated by the president adds fuel to that very dangerous potential fire there. And so that is why former officials like Chris Krebs have said they feel it is incumbent upon them to come out and reassure the public that all of these allegations are false. And so that the president has put him in his targets. And we saw some incredible and dangerous rhetoric this week.
I want to turn now to the coronavirus pandemic. The virus has taken a major economic toll, as we've seen across the country, in addition to, of course, the emotional toll of people dying and getting sick. But we know that right now millions of people remain unemployed and job growth slowed in November. Now, this all comes weeks before jobless benefits are set to expire unless lawmakers can come to an agreement on a new relief package. Margaret, where do negotiations currently stand on that, and what are the chances that something gets passed before the end of the year?
Well, today's jobs report just really underscores the need or the demand for more federal help to offset the the real pain that is being felt out there. We know that at least 11 to 12 million people are still looking for work. Many of those who do have jobs are underemployed, not being able to make ends meet. So lawmakers know this as well. They've been talking about it for some time, but it wasn't until this week that we saw some momentum. So we know there are negotiations. We know Democrats made this significant concession, Speaker Pelosi did, to come down from $2 trillion to $908 billion. But we know Leader McConnell, who controls the schedule on the floor in the Senate, is saying that he wants that number to come down a little further. So we're not quite there yet on having something that can be drafted, pen to paper, and become law. But you at least have conversations and some forced deadlines potentially that could lead to some action. But this is a very real pain. And as somebody said to me this week, one analyst, you know, arguably the economy has been limping along because of all the help Congress has provided up to this point. And we haven't truly felt the real pain. And we may be getting an indication of what's coming if we don't get Congress to provide more money, for example, to states and local governments so that they don't have to lay off workers, and provide more loans to small businesses so that they don't have to have further layoffs as well.
It's a sobering message to hear. Margaret, what more do we know about how the Biden-Harris team plans to tackle this economic crisis once their administration takes over next month?
Well, we know that there are calls for job creation programs, but, you know, at this point, those are ideas on paper. One of the factors that Joe Biden, when he becomes president, will have to deal with is what he can get Congress to pass. That's why this Georgia election is being watched so carefully. Will Republicans hold on to their majority? Will it be Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell negotiating, or will he have more of a Democratic majority in the Senate that might ease the passage of any kind of big jobs programs he's talking about, including creating some kind of green industry jobs? But in the immediate term, the president-elect has been asking for Congress and lawmakers to act, even before he takes office, to pass this stimulus bill that we were talking about, or some version of it, and then to perhaps provide more when he takes office in January. So there is a call for more federal help, but there is also the acknowledgement here that this is not going to go away anytime soon.
Finally, Margaret, what else is on tap for this weekend's edition of Face the Nation?
Well, you know, one of the things that may, I don't mean to have the pun here, but may inject some confidence back into the economy is the vaccine. So we will talk about that with Dr. Moncef Slaoui, the scientific advisor on Operation Warp Speed. We will also speak to the CEO of Nebraska Medical Center. This is a hospital that specializes in infectious diseases. So arguably, they're some of the best prepared to deal with the onslaught of hospitalizations. And they are very concerned that doctors are going to be overstretched. And that could force some tough decisions in the weeks ahead, including who do you treat and who you don't treat. So we will talk to the doctor about that and get the advice, which so far has been the best way not to put doctors in that position is to take good measures yourself. And as always, we'll have Dr. Scott Gottlieb, the former FDA director. The mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, would also join us to talk about how her city plans to roll out this vaccine.
All right, another must-watch episode. Margaret Brennan for us. Margaret, thank you very much. You can stream Face the Nation every Sunday. It airs at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on CBS and later at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. right here on CBSN.